Shalom and Bruchim Baim. My name is Yitzchak Shapira and I'm your host for the Pearls of the Torah, or in Hebrew, Pninei HaTorah, a program that is designed to go through the Parashat HaShavua, the weekly Torah portion, with you briefly, as we look for not just the Jewish Messiah, but we look through these pearls that Moshe has left us as we learn what does it mean to know God and walk with God. This Torah portion, this Shabbat, seems that it's in some sort out of order from the rest of the Torah portion. It's almost like we take a detour and stop, and we are introduced in this Torah portion that is called Parashat Balak, to two interesting figures. One of them, his name is Balak, and the other one, his name is Balaam. In the course of the story here, Balaam, or Balak I should say, asked Balaam to curse the Jewish people. And as he asked him to curse the Jewish people, he in essence ended up, Balaam, who was some sort of prophet as it appears, ended up blessing the Jewish people instead of cursing the Jewish people. There is a few applications in this story that I would like to touch today with you, as I believe that they are relevant to us today as Messianic believers. And I would like to pick up in the text today in Bamidbar. We are in the book of Numbers. We are in 22, and we don't have time to study this entire portion, but I want to touch today with you on one specific point. And let us pick the discussion perhaps in verse, let's see. Let's start in verse 5, it says, Va'ishlach malachim, and Balak, the king of Moab, he sent malachim, which malachim does not have to mean angels. Malachim in Hebrew mean messenger. Va'ishlach malachim el Balaam ben Peor. So he sent messenger to Balaam ben Peor. Now, the Torah and the rabbis have to tell us a lot about Balaam. There is variety of opinions of who is Balaam. For instance, in the Torah itself, it says in chapter 24, if you want to make a note to yourself, verse 16, it says in Hebrew about Balaam, it says Yodea Dat Elyon, which literally means he has some sort of a heavenly revelation of God. Now, we have to ask today the question, because Balaam is considered in Judaism to be a wicked man, very, very, very wicked man. So the question we have to ask ourselves today, that I want to answer with you today, is how can it be that somebody who know the heavenlies, know the God of the heavenly, how can it be that somebody who have this kind of heavenly, intimate knowledge with God can be considered to be so wicked? That is an important question that I would like to focus on today. And matter of fact, the Midrashei Chazal, in the Sermon of Chazal, it says that Balaam was a prophet. He was the equivalent of Moshe Rabbeinu, of Moses, to the nations. It says that there was no greater prophet in Israel. And some of Chazal Midrashim says that there was one that is as great as Moses. Some even says that he was greater than Moses, and it was Balaam. So that's a very, very important and very, very interesting point. Yet something is happening, because we read in the book of Joshua. Make yourself a note. In Joshua 13:22, it says, "Ve'et Balaam ben Peor akosem," the magician called Balaam ben Peor, Bnei Israel argu. Bnei Israel, the children of Israel, ended up killing him. Well, he knows God, or at least he knew God. He had a heavenly knowledge of God, yet is considered one of the most wicked in Jewish history. Matter of fact, some says, if you look, Parashat Balak is really a prophetic picture of end times. Some in Judaism believe that Balaam is really a picture of Yeshua, who is the greatest enemy of the Jewish people. Of course, I don't believe it, but I believe that there is a great prophetic picture of the anti-Mashiach, who is a great enemy of the Jewish people in this Torah portion. But the question that we have to ask ourselves today in Parashat Balak is, what made this man becoming so wicked that he turned in such a negative tone, in a negative way, according to the views of the rabbis? So let us try to answer this question together, because I believe that there is a great application in this to us. It says, Ve'ata lechana, this is verse 6, we're reading Numbers 26. He says to him, Balak tell him, go! He said, therefore I pray to curse me, these people, for they are too mighty for me. And I shall prefer that may smite them, and I may drive them out of the land. Okay, so that's the motivation of Balak in this story. Balak says he sent his emissary to go to Balaam to curse the Jewish people in order for them to be driven away from the land. They are about to enter the land, so they will not be able to do the things or to receive the blessings and the inheritance that God is given to them. Please understand that Rabbi Shaul, Apostle Paul, tell us that God promises to the Jewish people are irrevocable. This Torah portion, to a degree, is dealing with the issue of replacement theology. Balak wanted the promises that he give it to the Jewish people. But God later on in 23 verse 18, 19 says, I am not a man that I should lie. If I make a covenant, if I make a promise, I intend to keep my end of the bargain. Even if the other side does not keep the end of the bargain, I will keep my end of the bargain. And that's something that is amazing for us to think about today. If we turn away, listen to me very carefully, because this is very important. But if we take a view today of anti-Jewish, anti-rabbinic, in the end of the day, we are taking a view that is an anti-God and anti-Messiah. And a matter of fact, one cannot consider himself a messianic believer, okay, and have an opposing view of replacement of any shape or any form against the Jewish people. This is a very important principle. One cannot love Mashiach and dislike the Jewish people. That is a very, very important point that I would like to stress to you. Some people contacted us all the time and they tell us, well, I don't want all this rabbinic stuff. I don't want all those Jewish things. Well, please understand that if you are cutting yourself from those things, you're ultimately cutting yourself from the Messiah of Israel and Israel itself. It is the truth. Yes, God is going to deal with us corporately upon His return. But if today we are doing this, we are doing exactly what Paul says not to do, to boast against the branches. I want to show you this incredible parallel in this passage. So let's continue for a moment. It says, Vayelchu ziknei Moab. So the people of Moab and Ziknei Midnight, so the elders, those are the leader of Moab and Midian. They went, it says, V'ksamim beyadam. They went with witchcraft. It used the word witchcraft in their hands. And they came by Avoel Balaam. So they came to Balaam and they spoke to him what the king Balak says. And he says, come over. You don't need those Jewish people. You don't need them at all. Come and help us. We will give you the things of the world. Look at what's happening right now in the world. The Europeans, as an example, they are receiving oils, okay, from the Arab countries, as long as they are not going to stand with Israel. This is a modern picture of what's happening right now in Europe and throughout all the world. People says, hey, don't be with the Jewish people. We'll help you. We will support you. The Arabs, the Muslims have so much money because of oil. So do you see a prophetic picture of this in our modern society? And I want you to pay attention to the answer of Balak. Balak says, Balaam. And Balaam says, Vayomer Elam, and he says to him, Lenu po laila, stay here tonight. Ve'eshivoti etchem davar. I will get back to you with a word. But kasher yedaber Adonai elai. And that's an important point. He doesn't say, I'm going to think about it. He didn't say, let me throw a dice, No, he says, I need to seek the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob on this matter. It's appear on the surface that Balaam is doing everything right. Everything is right with Balaam. He seems to be a true prophet of God, which he was. He was a prophet of God. But he seems like he's acting truly in order, right? And actually the verses continue, and it says there, Vayavo Elohim el Balaam, God appeared to Balaam, and Vayomer Balaam Elohim, Balak ben Tzipor melech Moab, shalach elai, and he basically, God is saying to him, who are these people? And he having a dialogue, God having a dialogue with Balak, and he's telling you, those are Balak people. And the answer, Vayomer Elohim el Balaam, this is important. Verse 12, he says, Lo telech imam, lo to'ar et ha'am ki baruchu. He said, you will not mess with my people, because my people carry my name. Have you ever stopped and thought about it, that the name of God is Yud Hey Vav, right? Yud Hey Vav, we don't know how to pronounce it, but the interesting thing that the word Yehudi, Jewish, right? Yehudi, the same word comes from the word Yehuda. What letters does it start with? Yud Hey Vav. In essence, God says, I have taken my signature. I have taken it and I have placed it upon the Jewish people. You cannot curse them. I am not going to allow you to do this. If somebody decides to curse, and cursing the Jewish people does not have to take a form of cursing. People ask me this question all the time. What does it mean to be a blessing to Jewish people? Or some people ask me, what does it mean to be anti-Semitic to the Jewish people? And people do not understand it, because, I was asked this question about the Hebrew root movement in the example, and I said, portion of the Hebrew movement, I don't say all of them, and I don't want to overgeneralize, so please don't call us and tell us that we say that. But I say, a portion of the movement is absolutely looking, and perhaps is unintentionally, to replace the Jewish people. Do you realize that? If you stand up and you say, hey, I know better than you how to pronounce God's name, you replace the Jewish people. Or when you stand up and you say, hey, I know which calendar to keep. It's not your calendar, it's my calendar. You're replacing the Jewish people. Or when you say, hey, you don't need to eat. I can mix meat and cheese, and I can do all of those things. Guess what? You are replacing the Jewish people, because God take this name and He put it upon them, and He said, I am going to give those people my stamp of approval. And he says here, Ki Baruchu. And I love Balaam. Up to this point, Balaam is wonderful. Vayakom Balaam baboker. So Balaam wake up in the morning. Vayomer. He said to the prince of Balak, go, lechu el artzechem. Go. Ki ma'en Adonai latet la'aloch imchem. In essence, he says, God has not ordained me to even walk with you. Not even to curse. I want you to pay attention to the word. There is something here about associating. Some of us here are not necessarily partaking of the replacement theology, but I want to challenge you today and ask you this question. Are you associating perhaps with people who hold views of boastful or arrogance against the Jewish people? If you do, you have also committed a sin. And here, I love what Balaam says. Balaam says, not only that I'm not going to curse them, I'm not even going to associate with them. So then in verse 14, and on and on and on, I'm not going to read all of them. They're going back to Balak. They give him the bad news. about to Balak the bad news, and Balak is not giving up on it, and he says, "No, you are going to go. You're going to go back there again." Okay, and in verse 19 we see the second occurrence of this. The first test, Balaam passed with flying colors, but the second test, something happened. It says in verse 19, Ata shvuna beze gam atem halayla. Sit there for one more night, okay? Ve'eda ma yosif Adonai diber imi. And he says, so I will hear God's voice once again, so he will tell me what to do. Everything about Balaam sounds kosher. And in verse 20, it says, Vayovo Elohim el Balaam. And God says to Balaam, Laila, Vayomer lo, kumata, he says, kum lechitam. Go, and in the second time, God is telling him, go and walk with them. ואת הדברים אשר אדבר אליך תעשה. God says to him, walk with men, and everything that I tell you, you are to do. And then in verse 21, it says that he woke up in the morning and he saddled his donkey, right? He saddled his donkey and he went with the prince of Moab. And then verse 22 is a shocking verse because it says, Vayacher af Elohim. God became very angry at Balaam. And the question becomes, friends, it appears like there is a paradox in the Torah. Why was God angry at Balaam? Didn't Balaam, in essence, follow the protocol? What is the reason that God was angry? God told him, you can go. And when he went, God got angry at him. It seems like God is speaking from both sides of his mouth, okay? Let me try to answer it to you. It says here in the Hebrew, you see this answer clearly in the Hebrew. The Hebrew here says, Hu olechu. Let's look clearly for a moment. Let me open the Hebrew here. It says here in Hebrew, Vayachar af Elohim, and God became angry. Verse 22, Ki holech hu, because he is walking. The rabbis explain to us that in those three words, Ki holech hu, there is a mystery to explain to us the reason that God was so angry. Ki olech u literally mean because he decided to walk. Who is he? Balaam decided to walk. In essence, although God told him that he can walk, he didn't want to walk because God told him to walk. He made a decision. And he says, I give myself license to walk because I am the great Balaam. And that is the reason that he walks. Or Chaim tell us this way. He says, Holechu, he knew there was something already in Balaam's heart, and this something is pride. This something is arrogant. This is something that he was unwilling and unsubmit and not to give to God. And he says, I am not willing to give it to you, God. Yeah, God, you said that I can give, that I can go. I'm glad you agree with me, God. Sometimes we do that in our own walk. We said, I need a confirmation from the Holy Spirit. And the confirmation from the Holy Spirit comes when we hear what we want to hear. Please understand that the Balaam already in the second time made a choice to walk. He made a choice to walk, okay, before God says to him that he can walk. In essence, he took his license and said, I don't need your driver license, God. I can do whatever I want. The issue of the story here is not just issue of rebellion. The issue is the issue of pride. So many times I ask people this question, who are you submitting to? And they answer me and they say to me, well, I'm submitting to my wife, and my wife submitting to me, and we are under God. But in the end of the day, the issue here is an issue of submission. He was not submitting to God. And if I can use a modern term, Balaam, he was like a loose cannon, okay? He was willing to, he said, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. And God, forget it. If you don't want to agree with me, fine, I am still going to do whatever you want to do. In essence, when he walked with them, he did not tell them, I'm walking because the God of Israel says I can walk. I am walking because I choose to walk. The question I have to you today is, when you say yes to Yeshua, when you truly die to Messiah, the scripture tells us that we are to die and take upon ourselves our new flesh. He's talking about us really dying to our will. The question I ask you today, are you willing to die to His will? Because His will is going to happen one way or another. You see, if Balaam would have walked and say, I'm willing to die to you, he still would have gone. But he wouldn't have to go through so much pain. And as a matter of fact, the Torah here says, the Torah does not end there. It says that as he was walking, right? God is not true with him. He thought, well, I am in my free will. I have a free will, God, to do whatever you want. You know, we live in America. We are celebrating 4th of July this weekend. It's called the land of the free. But please understand that our freedom is limited to God's sovereignty. God, it was and is and He will be sovereign, because it says here that a messenger appeared to him, and this messenger is Satan. Now I'm getting to the heart of the issue, the last point that I want to say to you. So many times we think that things that happen to us, okay, is because of Hasatan. But please understand, look at Isaiah 45 verse 7 and 8. Look at the story of Job. Please understand that Satan is a tool and a pawn of the God of Israel. And the calamities that we suffer sometimes, yes, they are happen because of Satan, but they are really a pawn and a tool of God to say to us, you're going the wrong way, and I'm going to stand in your way, and I'm going, as the Torah tells us today, I'm going to pull a little knife, and if you keep on coming closer, I'm going to stop you, and it's going to hurt. And the reason I'm doing it is because you are prideful, and you are boastful, and you are arrogant, and I want you to submit and die my will in your will to me. People of God, friends, if you watch this show today, I pray that in those last days, it will be a season when you ask God, what is His will for your life? God have a plan and a purpose for each one of your own life. And even though things appear to us sometimes as they are perfectly lined up, it doesn't necessarily mean it is God. God might allow it for a season, but it doesn't mean that it's always Him. But sometimes it is truly Him who has called us to these things. I sense in my spirit that this is a season we all have to learn how to die to the will of God. Even Yeshua held the cup of the cedar in his hand, and he says that his sweat turned to blood, and he turned to his Father and said, God, I know there is no other way. I am willing to die to make your way known. That was the ultimate example that is given us by the Messiah. We do not want to hit to go on this road, on this narrow road, and hit and stand by Hasatan himself. As Hasatan is not always operating out of his own will, he is operating under the will of God. We don't want that. We want to have the free, straight, as Yeshua say, and narrow road to the kingdom. I pray that we all learn from this lesson, from Balaam, especially from Balaam, not to be prideful, not to be boastful, and to not just to listen, but bring every action that we do, everything that we do, even if it seems great on the surface, inquire it in front of our God. I wish you Shabbat Shalom, and may the God of Israel bless you. להתראות וכל טוב.